And we are starting Friday off with a bang. Our guy Rhett Lewis, our pal from the NFL Network, and shameless plug, one of the co-hosts of the Raiders NFL Draft podcast, is hanging out with us. And Rhett, let's start here. As we said, day 2, which means night 1 is officially in the books. Tyree Wilson, the newest member of your Las Vegas Raiders. What do we think? What do we like? And how does he kind of fit in the grand scheme of what Patrick Graham is kind of going to try to do on defense this year?
Well, so look, I think, for one, I think get your binoculars out if you're bird watchers, because now not only do you have the condor, but you have the albatross in Tyree Wilson. Okay. If you want to talk wingspan, the Raiders have cornered the market. And then you throw Chandler Jones's big old wingspan in there too, and it's like, holy smokes, are we playing are we power forwards here?
The stretch 4, baby.
We'll take it. And look, I think this is fantastic. In most of my projections, I thought that Tyree Wilson was going to be gone by 7. So the fact that he ends up getting there, I think, is an awesome stroke of fortune for the Raiders. Because, is edge rusher maybe the most pressing need? No, I think we're all counting on Chandler Jones again this year, counting on Max again this year. But to be able to throw in a high-end player like that with that kind of potential is just fantastic. And then again, you get him at a reasonable rate. And I think everything kind of helps. Everything kind of comes together here to make this fit really nice. And so I'm really into this thing for the Raiders.
I think, as a fan, and to your point, I think that a lot of folks didn't think that Tyree was going to be on the board there at 7. I think, a main reason he was there was because of the air quotes injury concerns, right? He ends up missing those final few games in the bowl game for Texas Tech last year. But I think, for the fan base here, I think it was really important to hear Dave Ziegler say in his press conference last night, 0 concerns as far as the injury goes. And Dave was really candid. He goes, look, if there were any concerns, if we weren't comfortable with where he's at, we wouldn't have picked him. And so I think that,
exactly right.
I think for a fan base that says, hey, this is a big dog pedigree pick in the top 10, how do we feel about the injury concerns? For Dave to come out from the jump and say, relax, I think is really, really important.
I agree. And look, that's something, again, Dave's not in there either. He's not in there kind of working on that knee, working on the, and checking everything out. He's relying on the information that he is getting from the medical team, and the trust that they have together is a reason why you have confidence making this pick. And so this is this comes back to a first round pick being an organizational decision. Like ultimately Dave's filling out the card, right? But he's getting the input from all aspects of the organization, and you come together to make this potentially franchise changing pick. And so that's what I feel like this is. You cannot have enough good edge rushers. Look at the team that won the NFC and the Philadelphia Eagles. They rolled 10 deep. Okay. And so I think, Tyree's also got a big enough body. Like you might be able to kind of slide him inside a little bit too on passing downs and get Chandler, Max, and Tyree all out there at the same time, which could be really intriguing.
Yeah, I think, that is where your eyes start to get big, right? Where we look at Chandler Jones' final month last year in silver and black, and it definitely feels like something clicked. A corner was turned with him. Max, we all know what to expect from Max, and now you add this big dog on the defensive line with them. I think that this is where things can get really exciting. And I wonder for him, too, we were talking about this last night with Eric Allen, Rhett, is, Tyree now comes into a position here. Yes, he's a top 10 pick, but it feels like the world of expectation isn't going to weigh heavy on him, right? Because you do have a Max, you do have a Chandler, you do have the ability to say, hey, if you're the coaching staff, this is the package that we feel really good about for him. Go out and do your thing. And you don't have to be kind of that all-world guy day one. And I just wonder if that benefits a guy who is is in his position and still has a lot of room to get better going forward.
I think certainly. And look, I think anytime you're a top 10 pick, there's going to be expectations, and that's fine. But when you're not the number 2 pick and the first edge rusher off the board, I think maybe that gets metered a little bit, and that's fine too. But I can guarantee you from talking to Tyree that he has higher expectations of himself than you or me or anybody and anyone a part of Raider Nation can place upon him. So that's where the expectation comes. That's where the pressure comes from. And with Tyree, it feels like it's internally. And by the way, this dude's a flipping Raider, man. Like this dude's got an edge. If you guys have had a chance to spend some time around him now, like he doesn't play around. Like this dude means business on the field, off the field, and he is coming for you. And that's what opposing offensive linemen felt throughout the Big 12, throughout his tenure there at Tech.
You know, and I love in the world of synergy too, Rhett. He was a Raider in high school. He was a Red Raider in college.
Red Raider,
exactly.
Baby.
And now, I mean, it's just in his blood, man. It's in the DNA, and we are very, very excited to have him here in the building. In fact, he's walking around as we speak, and that's the beauty of being here in the building, right? Like we haven't made contact with the albatross just yet, but we sense him, we feel him, we know that he is talking to McDaniels and DZ
like
and
breeze.
Yes.
In the building.
It'll be one of those. Yes, we'll all be lifted up. Good thing I'm wearing my windbreaker today. I won't take off. But we look, you know, as we're talking here on Friday morning, Rhett, the draft. It really feels like we're still in the infant stages, which is so much fun. So we go into day 2, which will begin this afternoon. And I just want to go back to night 1 for just a second, though. In some aspects, we're fans, right? You know, we're watching for the drama, the intrigue of the draft. And Mr. Will Levis sitting in that green room, and this poor kid, right? The camera pans to him after every selection, and he's still there, he's still there, he's still there. In hindsight, are you surprised by the gravity of his fall on Thursday night?
You know, a little bit, yeah. I mean, I was one of the ones that had him projected to be up there, you know, not only in the top 10, but maybe even in the top 5. I think I ultimately ended up choosing in one of my mocks that Anthony Richardson was going to go to Indy. And then I had Levis ending up with the Tennessee Titans at number 11. So, yeah, I mean, I would say that this is a pretty precipitous fall for a young man who's got loads of talent and loads of potential. And it's about finding the right fit and the right value for a team to fill out that card and make that pick. And I think he's going to go pretty early. I think it very well could be with that first pick in the second round if the Steelers trade out of it. I think there's a number of teams, perhaps the Raiders included, that were looking to get back into the bottom of the first round to try to get a 5th-year option on a quarterback. Didn't end up happening. Kansas City made their selection. And so now we wait and see what kind of drama we'll get at the top. But I think you could see these 2 quarterbacks go in the first 7-8 picks, right? So if you're the Raiders sitting there at 38, like, do you start to consider a potential future face of your franchise there? And I definitely think that's got to be a possibility, or at least at minimum a consideration.
Yeah, and I certainly think that, you know, this is my 2 cents, right? Not the front office, but I think you have to have those conversations, especially with the 2, like you mentioned, Hendon Hooker and Will Levis still on the board as you record this on a Friday morning. But outside of the quarterback position, Rhett, I mean, we look at this Raiders roster, not in a bad way, but certainly no shortage of things to get better at, areas of improvement. When you look at the guys that are still on the board, who could help this team in 2023, just a few guys that you think we should be keeping our eye on this evening.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a couple position groups in particular. I had mocked, as you saw on Raiders.com, Devin Witherspoon to the Raiders at number 7, right? He ends up going number 5 overall, so didn't have that opportunity. And so then, you know, they were in a position where, you know, Tyree Wilson obviously followed him, great pick. And so now I'm wondering if maybe cornerback, man, if Joey Porter Jr., who slid all the way out of the first round, is sitting there at 38, that'd be tough for me to pass up. You're going to talk about a physical bump and run type corner with an aggressive mindset and a bloodline that has helped him learn how to prepare and how to play at the highest level. I would think about Joey Porter Jr. Offensive line wise, I think this could be a real opportunity. There's some good players left. All the interior players are still there, by the way, right? We didn't get a single one off the board in the first round. Avila from Texas, from TCU, Joe Tippmann from Wisconsin, John Michael Schmitz from Minnesota, Osiris Torrance is still out there from Florida. And Cody Mauch from North Dakota State, who in my 7-round mock draft, also out on Raiders.com, in the second round, I ended up choosing Mauch for the dude. Feels like a Raider. Long, flowy, red hair. I mean, like, he does not care that he does not have his 2 front teeth. Like, this dude feels like he's got the edge. He's got the mindset of a Raider, right? Like, he is all ball. You know what I mean? And that to me is what Silver and Black is all about. So I think that he's a dude who's got positional flexibility too. So if you want to slide over to right tackle to start, or if you want to slide into maybe right guard to start, I feel like he's a dude that could do both for you. So I think those are 2 position groups and a name to watch. If Joey Porter ends up going, trying to think of the other corners that I ended up having high on my list, Cam Smith from South Carolina could be a guy to think about. If Brian Branch is there, I know we love Nate Hobbs, especially in the slot, but man, you can never hurt. You can never hurt to have too many guys that you can rotate back through in the secondary. So he might be too good of a player to pass up there, the player out of Alabama. So I think a couple of names there for you, but I'm feeling good about how this is shaping up.
Yeah, I mean, certainly you can never have too many good offensive linemen or DBs in the world of 2023.
Matt Bergeron, another one, by the way, from Syracuse.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and like you said, and what we've learned from, I think, Dave and Josh now going into year 2 of their partnership is that competition is going to be the name of the game. Depth is going to be the name of the game. And yeah, if you feel really good about a position group, that's awesome. But if you have the ability to make it even better, Dave and Josh are not going to pause or give any second thought to adding more talent into any position group, whether it's on the line, a DB, quarterback. They talked about that once Jimmy got in the building as well. So, like I said, the intrigue is still there. The drama is just starting to unfold, and it is going to be a lot of fun over the next 2 days. But before we let you go, Rhett, I just wanted to ask you philosophically, and I had this kind of written down in my notes last night. Is the NFL kind of changing the way that we look at the running back? Because you look at last night, we have 2 running backs go in the top 12. I can't remember the last time that happened. And yes, I know these are 2 very kind of unique players and what they bring to the table in terms of Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs, but it felt like the tides were turning a little bit. Am I wrong there?
Well, here's the thing, and I love Jahmyr Gibbs as a player. If anybody tells you they had him forecasted in the top 12, they're lying. Okay. Because we barely had him forecasted in the first round. Just in the last week, there was some thought that maybe he gets in at 30 or 31, right? He ends up going 12 to the Lions. And then they come back at 18 and they take Jack Campbell. So the Lions rewound back to 1994. They took a running back and a off the ball linebacker in the first 18 picks. It just doesn't happen anymore. And look, here's the thing. I love the players. So, in the end, and we say this about quarterbacks a lot, it doesn't matter where you end up taking the quarterback. If everyone perceives it to be too high, like when the Giants took Daniel Jones at number 6 a couple of years ago, oh my God, they could have got him at 17 when they had 2 picks. Well, you know what? We view him as the face of our franchise. I don't care where we take him as long as we get him. And so I think that's probably what the Lions are thinking here. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a Pro Bowl player for us for the next 6-7 years, right? And if that's the case, we won that pick at number 12, and they traded back. They acquired a little extra capital to do it. So, is it unconventional? Yes. Is it a sign of a trend line changing in the NFL? I don't think so. I just think it is truly based on the player. And then, of course, the philosophy of the team, I think, is something we would really have to look at then, Eddie.
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, it's great fodder for conversation, right? It gives us things to talk about, to chew on, to kind of spit around and see what comes out. But like I said, we are now officially getting ready for day 2 of the 2023 NFL Draft. It is going to be a lot of fun. Big shout out to you and Bucky, who have been dominating the Raiders NFL Draft podcast, by the way. And we're going to have one more episode, right? Next week, we're going to have a series finale. We're going to take a look at the class. Absolutely. Love it. And so you guys have been awesome. It's been so much fun to hang out with you this draft season. We are not done. As I said, make sure to head on over to Raiders.com next week for the finale of that show. And Rhett, good luck the rest of the way. We'll be looking for you on TV. And thanks for hanging out with us, brother.
Anytime, Eddie.